It started the week after Emily Parker moved into her new rental on the edge of Crestwood, Ohio, a quiet little town where people still waved to strangers and porch lights stayed on late. The house was nothing special, a two-story with peeling paint and backyard that sloped down toward the woods. It was cheap and she needed cheap. Her first night was quiet. She unpacked boxes until after midnight, sipping tea in the kitchen while rain against the windows. Just before she turned in, she noticed something odd. The motion light in the backyard flicked on. She peered through the curtains, expecting to see a raccoon or maybe a neighbor's cat. Instead, there was a man. He stood just beyond the fence line, perfectly still, facing the house. The rain rolled off his dark coat, his hands hanging at his sides. Even from distance, she could tell he was watching her. Emily froze. She considered calling the police, but after a long moment, the man simply turned and walked into the woods without a word. She told herself it was nothing, probably a lost hiker or something strange neighbor cutting through the property. The next morning, she found something on her back step. She found something on the back step. A single black button still wet from the rain. Over the next few days, she saw him again, always at night. The next morning, she found something on the back step. A single black button still wet from the rain. Over the next few days, she saw him again, always at night, always at the edge of the property. He never moved toward her, never spoke, just stood there, watching, sometimes for minutes, sometimes for hours. She mentioned it to her landlord, but he just shook his head. The house been empty for years before you. Some folks around here talk about a man in the woods, but I wouldn't pay it much mind. But Emily couldn't ignore it. The sightings become more frequent. She started locking every door and window before sunset, drawing the curtains tight. Still, sometimes she would wake in the night and hear it, the faint creak of the back steps, like someone standing just outside. One evening, she decided to catch him on camera. She set her phone in the window, recording through the night. The next morning, she scrolled through the footage. At first, it was just darkness and the swaying branches of the trees. Then at 2:47, the motion light clicked on. The watcherman stood in the yard. Only this time, he was closer, just inside the fence, his face barely visible in the grainy light, his head tilted slightly, like he was studying the house. Then slowly he looked directly at the camera at her and smiled. The final frame of the video made her drop the phone. The timestamp read 2:51 and the man was no longer outside. He was standing inside her kitchen. I was living alone in Saudi Arabia at that time, working long shifts at my job. My apartment was small but cozy, and nothing about it seemed unusual, at least at first. But every evening, when I returned home, I had this strange, heavy feeling as if someone had just been there. The rooms looked exactly the same, nothing was out of place. Yet my gut whispered that I was not alone. I brushed it off as paranoia. One night, after a late shift, I came home to find my living room window slightly open. My heart skipped a beat. I checked every corner, every room. Everything looked perfectly normal. I told myself I must have left it open in a rush that morning. I was too tired to check the security cameras, so I went to bed. Still, that feeling stayed with me. I began to notice a pattern. Whenever I pulled into the parking lot and stepped out of my car, I felt eyes on me, like someone was watching from very close by. Then came my day off. I was enjoying a rare moment of peace. when I heard a faint noise from the storeroom. It was soft but wrong. My skin prickled. This time I went straight to my CCTV footage. My stomach turned cold. Just minutes before, while I was sleeping, a man had been wandering through my apartment, calmly, casually, like he owned the place. And the worst part, the footage showed him standing in the exact spot where I was sitting now, just 2 minutes earlier. My mind screamed at me to run. Without thinking, I snatched my car keys from the table, unlocked the nearest window, and jumped out. I sprinted to my car, locked the doors, and dialed the police with shaking hands. By some miracle, a patrol car was only a couple of minutes away. They arrived quickly and searched my apartment, but the man was gone. He had vanished. The police took my statement and kept my home under surveillance for days. I never saw him again, but even now, sometimes I wonder if he's still out there watching and waiting. I live in Canada. My wife and I usually spend weekends at this quiet farmhouse just outside the city. It's a peaceful place, nothing fancy, just nature, silence, and stars. But one weekend, something happened that I'll never forget. Right across the dirt path from our farmhouse is an old abandoned house. It's been empty for years, windows boarded up, grass overgrown, paint peeling like dead skin. Locals don't talk about it, they just pretended it's not there. The night we were sitting inside, unwinding, when we heard it, a sound muffled like crying or whispering. I looked at my wife. Did you hear that? She nodded. So we stepped outside. There were no street lights. The area was pitch black, but oddly, a single bulb over that abandoned house porch was flickering. That light had never worked before. We walked toward it slowly, and then we saw her, standing still beneath the porch light. A woman, her hair was long and tangled. Her dress was torn. Her eyes, there was something wrong with them. They glowed and she smiled at us. Then she laughed. Not a normal laugh. It sounded broken, animalistic, the kind that doesn't come from joy, only madness. We froze, then we ran back to the farmhouse, locked the doors, sat on the couch, shaking. Neither of us spoke. We just stared at the windows. The next morning, we asked the neighbors if anyone had moved into the old house. They laughed. You are joking, right? One of them said, no one's living there in decades. But that night, at exactly 1, someone knocked on our farmhouse door. 3 slow, heavy knocks. I looked out the window. No one. We grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. And there she was again. But this time, she was not laughing. She was crying. She looked at us with tears in her glowing eyes and whispered, he killed me and buried me in the basement 20 years ago. I just want my body to be found and my children to know the truth. We turned to run, and when we looked back, she was gone. The next morning, we left. We couldn't sleep for 2 nights after that. But we were stubborn. The following weekend, we went back to the farmhouse. This time, nothing happened. No sound, no knocks, no lights. Until we were heading home. It was around 9 p.m. The road back is long and empty. Nothing but trees and shadows. And then we saw her, standing at the edge of the road. Same dress, same glowing eyes, same dead smile. And again that laugh. I slammed the brakes. We both sat there, terrified. Not speaking, not moving. Eventually, I drove again. But a few minutes later, we heard something that made blood run cold. footsteps on the roof of the car. It sounded like someone was walking up there. At first, I thought we were just scared, imagining things, but the next day, I took the car to a mechanic. He called me over, pale faced, and pointed to the roof. There were bare human footprints on the roof, in the dirt, and something that looked a lot like blood. I'm shaking even writing this. We told our family, our friends, no one believed us. But we know what we saw. We know what we felt. We sold the farmhouse and the car. We'll never go back. And sometimes when I close my eyes, I still hear her crying. We saw her again, but she was supposed to be dead.